These socks with fucking sperm in them and trees and mushrooms.
That's that was a line in my act, but it's so true that I can't remember how many times that I shot a load on my stomach. And I just put my shirt on and just left.
Just took off.
Pulled my shirt down and never bothered wiping myself off.
Like a fucking raccoon in your belly button. You know what I'm saying? Bats are flying out of there and shit.
At the store with fucking cum caked all over your stomach. I mean, how many times have you done that?
All day.
All day. If I'm lazy, if I've worked too hard, I got too much shit I gotta do. I'll
just wipe it up.
Shoot loads of my chest hairs and leave them there. Once in the old days, they became useless when they couldn't have children anymore.
Don't women take estrogen pills once they hit menopause?
Some women do, yeah. There's a lot of controversy with that, though.
Why?
Oh, you're fucking with the balance of hormones, and it has to be done right. You got to test your blood all the time. It's very tricky.
Yeah.
A lot of people just want to take pills and everything's going to be groovy. I don't know, man. I think eventually what they're going to figure out how to do is keep all your hormone levels exactly the same for the rest of your life. And then it's going to be weird. It's like then we get to find out like what makes your body deteriorate. Is it hormones? Is it genetics? Is it just some stuff inside your genome and it starts to fail? Like how much can we stop that? In our lifetime, we might see people live to be 150, 200 years old. In our lifetime, this might be the first lifetime where look at Sylvester Stallone. I keep an eye on that motherfucker.
Would you stop with Sylvester Stallone?
He's my canary in a coal mine. I'm obsessed with that dude.
That guy's Captain Plastic Surgery.
64 years old. He's swole like a motherfucker.
I know, but he's cutting shit out and shooting stuff in. Some way you got to pay for that.
I know. I'm sure. I just want to see how long you live.
To see when and how.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me.
For you.
Okay.
Let's say you're abroad and you want to become a man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they give you all this testosterone. Do
right.
you grow a helmet or they take a helmet and stick?
No, you grow a dick.
Wait, it just becomes one?
The clit, yes. The clit is very similar. It's very related to a penis. And as your clitoris gets engorged with testosterone, as your body becomes engorged with testosterone, they're shooting it. Like I'm guessing it has to be big numbers because they had like Private Dicks. It was a show, I think it was called, on HBO. It was all about dicks, and they had this one woman who was a woman who was turning into a man, and she said that her dick is about the size of a thumb. Which is bigger than any, like, bodybuilder girl clit I've ever seen on the internet.
The size of a thumb.
A thumb. That's what she said. And she says it gets rock hard. And it was fascinating, too, to hear her talk about how she thought she knew what it was like to be a man until they started shooting her up with testosterone. And she's like, wow. One of the things she was talking about was about when you have a raging hard-on, like how little in control you really are. She goes, I had no idea. She goes, I had no idea. But when they interviewed her and they were talking about,
she got a boner and was like, wow.
Because your clit gets hard and how obsessive she was with just fucking. She said, primal. And she was talking about how a guy with a raging heart on is just not going to listen. Like they just want to fuck. It's like it takes over like certain areas of your brain. She didn't know like really you could have taken over like that. It's a very interesting thing. I wouldn't want to be a woman, but I would if we could like switch, if you could like enter into a woman's brain for a few hours and wander around and see what it's like, say, all right, it's like, you're going to do mushrooms for a few hours, or I'm going to take a pill and I'm going to be a woman for a few hours. I'm going to feel what that feels like. That's got to be so strange. Their balance, their whole balance of life is so different than ours. Everything about it. And I think it takes us until like we're like, much, much, much older until you date a bunch of different chicks, until you see a bunch of different old women who are kind of cool, and you try to get together like a kind of sense of what it is to be a woman. But they're like a totally different species than us, man. They're a totally different species that we live side to side with. We don't have a fucking clue as to how they feel. And they don't have a fucking clue as to how we feel. But we want to fuck them. And because of that, they want us to be a certain way. And that's one of the problems in this country. One of the problems in this country is it's difficult to get laid. And a lot of guys decide to change who they are because they want a woman to like them. That's the pussification of America. A big part of it is doing what the chick wants to do because you want to fuck.
Yeah.
And they don't know what you're like. They don't really understand what it is to be you. They have no idea. Like sometimes I'll get upset at something where my wife just doesn't understand. I'm like, you don't understand because you're not a dude. Okay? If you were a dude, you would understand. And I don't understand shoes, and I don't understand bags.
The best is that like an alternative comedy party when you're talking to a girl and you're like arguing or something.
Yeah.
Just in a normal way, and one of the little nerds comes up like, hey man, you shouldn't talk to girls that way. And it's like, oh, you don't realize I'm going to have sex with her later.
Yeah.
And you're like
posturing, you cocksucker. You're trying to be the good
guy. Take their side based on nothing. You don't even know what we're talking about.
That is the weakest shit ever. I almost got in a fist fight with a guy in Manhattan who was a bartender around the OJ trial. You know, this guy was the most self-righteous cunt. I think about that guy still to this day. And all he was trying to do was impress the waitress, man. I was talking to the waitress, and something came up about the O.J. trial, right? And she said, you know, well, O.J., you know, did that, and he beat the shit out of his wife. And I said, well, not necessarily. I go, I don't know exactly what he did to his wife, but they might have been, like, physical with each other. Like, I've had friends who've had relationships where their wife would hit them, and they would, you know, fight back. Like, he would have to defend her, and then the cops would come, and then he would get arrested with assault and battery.
Right.
I've known people where that's happened. Well, I said that, and all I said was, well, all we know is that there was some sort of restraining order. And so the fucking bartender goes, that's exactly right. That's what you heard, and that's what it is. And the only way you get that one is if you abuse women. And I was like, oh, God, are you fucking kidding me? I go, dude, well, all I'm saying is you weren't there, and there could I'm pretty sure he probably killed his wife, but I don't know. You don't know either, man. You weren't there. Like, do you really know all the... This is like while the case was going on, while the trial was going on. Point is, that shit only exists because we don't understand each other.
Oh.
If you could understand what it's like to be a chick, man, you would go, oh, all right. If they can understand what it's like to be us, they would just kind of recognize, like my dog. I don't try to stop my dog from licking his balls, because that's what he does. Okay? If it was my son, and he's fingering his asshole and sucking on his fingers, I'd be like, hey, what the fuck, dude? Like, this is crazy. You got to go to a doctor. You know? But it's a dog. I don't understand dogs, man. I just let it go.
And when girls get super dramatic over nothing, you're like, yeah, that's who you are.
I just go, whatever. I just tell you I love you. Give me a hug.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go watch TV. Let's not get crazy. I'm always going to be me. You're always going to be you. All right? Let's just figure this shit out. You can't try to change me, though. You know, how many dudes have you ever talked to where they say, oh, I like to do that, but my wife doesn't let me anymore? What? Your wife wants you to be a bitch. Your wife wants you to be something that's not even you.
Yeah.
I can't go to jiu-jitsu anymore. My wife doesn't let me. Like, what are you talking about? You can't go to jiu-jitsu because your wife doesn't let you. What kind of a relationship do you have with your keeper? Some weird person.
It's always weird when you hear that.
Yeah, what does she do? She gives you pussy, and so you don't do your favorite things in life and your hobbies? That's nonsense. What kind of a person would want you to... Could you imagine saying to a chick, hey, I don't want you doing yoga anymore. I think it's bullshit. I think yoga's for fucking idiots.
What? What was her reasoning for not letting the guy do jiu-jitsu?
She didn't like him getting involved in, like, fighting and being around all those guys. And,
That's
you know,
you can't say that.
Yeah, she just thought that they had, like, bad attitudes and they were, you know, rough men.
Yeah.
She didn't want him being around rough men.
If she was like, you hurt yourself, you're going to hurt yourself again. You can't do this.
I don't know what it was, man, but she put the
can't
kibosh
imagine
on
anything
it. And, you know, you meet the guy, and he's like, just like this shell of a man, you know, hanging around with this woman who he probably doesn't even like to fuck anymore, you know, and she won't let him go to jiu-jitsu.
I got to run it past my wife.
Ooh. Ooh.
Let me get back to you because I got to run it past my wife.
I had a guy in Dallas. He was one of these guys who would say something to you and, like, do like that. He goes, well, I'd like to do some weed, but my wife won't let me. I'd like to do some weed. And he was one of those dudes. You met one of those guys. Well, hey, man, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you, buddy. He would always point and say shit, but I'll never forget that dude. My wife won't let me.
That's how I got my vaporizer. Don Carlos he owns a taco shop down there. He goes, I'm getting married. She doesn't want me to.
Whoa.
She said only edibles. And I was like, that's weird.
Hilarious.
It's just so weird.
That's hilarious. My wife gets weird. She hasn't been able to smoke weed in a long time because of the babies. Because she basically went from one baby to the next, you know, and the one's 2.5 years old, and she was breastfeeding for a year, and then right after that she was pregnant again with another one. So she hasn't had any weed in any of that time.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like there's like little things that she'll say. Like she'll come home. Does it smell like weed? Is that what I smell? I'm like, yeah. You know I was doing a podcast.
I smoke constantly.
The fuck question is that? Don't you try to pretend I'm somebody I'm not?
Yeah.
Because they want you to be, you know, hi, honey, I'm home. I've got my briefcase, and let me take off my loafers. And
it's also,
where are the children? Bring them around.
And she can't smoke, so she feels bad.
Yeah, well, no, it's not that she feels bad. No. It's this nesting, baby protection. She just doesn't want me to go crazy. She doesn't want me to be a crazy person and wind up doing drugs. I'm going to the Amazon. I'll be back in 3 months. You know, if you have some person like me, think about how irresponsible I am, how fucking crazy I am, and I am the father of your children. Okay, I'm your you know, I'm their daddy. So I'm the one who has to be around and provide and keep a stable life and raise them correctly. And they're already swearing.
Really?
I swear, the little one, 2.5.
What'd she say?
She says shit all the time.
Wow.
Like the other day, I got a balloon for her, man. I was so pissed. And I got it at the supermarket. She was so excited. It was a princess balloon. There were all these princesses on it. And it was attached to a string. And I pulled it out of the trunk. and the string unraveled, and it flew away. You know, it was a helium balloon. And I go, damn it. And she goes, damn it. Damn it. Like, she immediately does what I do. She's 2.5.